I wanted to talk a little bit about devotee care, and there's been an initiative in ISKCON for devotee care in the realization that somehow or other it's been neglected, which is quite amazing to everyone, that how we could neglect something so important. And I talked to some devotees who developed the course on devotee care and heard Niranjan Swami speak about devotee care. And he was kind of the pioneer of this, who really pushed this consciousness. And both of them recognized that something as foundational as this that gets neglected is really an anomaly within our movement, because compassion is like the essence, not like the essence, compassion is the essence of a Vaishnava. And so we're wondering, how is it that something that's so essential was neglected? And one of the answers that comes up is that our movement is a missionary movement, and because it's a missionary movement, we're always focused on our missionary activities, and we're very intentional about them. We have goals, and in trying to achieve those goals for the satisfaction of our spiritual master, for the satisfaction of Prabhupada, for the benefit of everyone, we sometimes deal with one another in maybe impersonal ways or ways which aren't so compassionate, where we begin to see one another a little bit more like a cog in a wheel than an individual person that needs to be taken care of. And there are stories like that where we hear that Prabhupada would notice sometimes devotees didn't appear to have warm enough clothes for the weather, and he would stop and ask the temple president, do they have warm clothes? Are you providing? Concern, very basic, simple things which any father or mother would be concerned, or any brother and sister would be concerned with. But somehow, sometimes those concerns just went over our head. And so Niranjan Swami was making a very important point, and a point which I had also realized, and that's that any kind of initiative to increase care and attention given to devotees has to begin within the heart. It can't begin institutionally as a department. We were going to have a department of devotee care. But the devotee care has to originate within the heart, that we have to be caring people ourselves. And so we have to balance how we deal with the devotees, how we deal with non-devotees, how we deal with our spiritual master, because there's this tendency for a lot of devotion to go into our work for spreading Krishna consciousness, a lot of devotion to go into the service of our spiritual master, and often much more devotion going to these places than the care we give to devotees. And it's just a question, I believe, of realizing that that's out of balance. I don't think devotees are not compassionate. I don't think devotees don't care about one another, but I think sometimes subtly or even consciously things just get out of balance. They don't realize how important that is and how essential it is. And what we'll find is that quite often when somebody leaves Krishna consciousness, they'll leave because they're not being cared for. They're not being honored or appreciated, or perhaps they're being criticized too much. And so it's very important. We want to create, we bring people into Krishna consciousness, and when they come in, often they're coming in because they believe here is a community of people that care for one another. And so it's very disappointing if they come into that community and they find that that's not happening. Or they find that there's criticism or bickering or even envy or hate amongst devotees. So creating a community of care is actually creating, the way I see it, is creating a community of care first within your own heart, that you care, and balancing your care with the care you give to non-devotees, people outside, and the care you give to your spiritual master, so that care is equally distributed. And then the devotee care initiative becomes successful. It doesn't, having a department is good, but ultimately it may not require a department if care itself is existing within the heart. The department will systematize it and make it practical how care is delivered. But as we talk often, just doing something externally without having the consciousness that goes behind the activity, it doesn't work. Just like You can tell people, be empathetic when someone talks to you. And I believe that's an essential aspect of care, just to be able to listen to devotees without judging them. That we all need to be able to do that. So if we say an aspect of care is to learn how to listen without judgment, so a devotee can reveal their problems, and then you keep it confidential, you won't tell anybody so they feel that they have a place to go. That's an amazingly important aspect of devotee care, to create that confidential space for someone to reveal their problems and for you to listen without judging. And so if we want to be able to do that, which is technically called empathic listening, we can teach you the skills of empathic listening. But you require to have something more than just the skill. You actually have to want to be really concerned about helping somebody. You have to really actually feel bad that this other devotee is suffering. And you want to really help them, genuinely. And then because you want to help them, you can listen, because you're concerned. And you know if you listen, it's going to help them. And because you want to help them, therefore, it's easier for you to listen. And you know, because it's important to them that you keep it confidential, you don't tell anybody. And one of my godbrothers was pointing out, it's so rare in ISKCON to tell somebody something and have them agree to be confidential and them not telling at least somebody else. This confidentiality means you don't tell anybody. So they think, well, I'll just tell my best friend. And he'll just tell his best friend, and he'll just tell his best friend, and you know. So you have to understand these principles, so that they have to come from within inside. And then we can manifest this amazing culture of caring for one another. And if ever a devotee feels uncared for, especially if we're working together, and they feel uncared for, we should take it as our responsibility to know that we need to care for them more. Now you might say, some devotees, they need a lot of care. That's just their nature. They'll naturally feel uncared for. That may be true. But at least we need to recognize that and be able to deal with them appropriately so that they feel that they are cared for, that other devotees want to help them. They don't feel that nobody cares about me, nobody cares about how I feel, and so forth. So very important, devotee care is something which takes place internally within us, where we actually care, and that is the motive to help others. And by having that motive, naturally the skills that are required, whoa, that was a bee. The skills that are required will automatically manifest. The bee didn't bite me somehow or other. At least I don't think he did. Krishna's mercy, right? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.